Welcome to St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management. This college is affiliated to Maharshi Dayanand University, Rohtak and approved by All India Council for Technical Education. This video lecture is a part of series developed for online classes. Hello everyone, my name is Ashish Tripathi and I am working as an assistant professor at St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management since 2015. My areas of interest are data analysis and data visualization, which are recommended to be a data scientist. Let's begin our journey for the course Object-Oriented Programming using C++. In today's lecture, we will study about the flow of control, functions, namespace, exceptions, and string of Unit 1 of this course. Flow of control. It determines the order in which the statements will be executed. There are three types of flow of control: sequence, selection, iteration. Sequence. Statements are the instructions which are executed to perform a task. They are the smallest executable units of a program. All statements are terminated by a semicolon. The smallest statement is an empty or null statement having only a semicolon. So here you are seeing a semicolon, which signifies a null statement. This is required when the syntax of the language requires presence of a statement but the logic of the program does not. When the sequence of the statement are enclosed in a pair of braces like the parentheses, then it is called a block or compound statement. Selection. When the flow of statement is based on a certain condition, then it is known as selection. These are called the conditional or decision statements. These are of two types, if and switch. The if statement. In this, a particular condition is tested and based on its outcome, the statement is executed. The syntax is if expression statement 1 else statement 2. If the expression evaluates to true, then statement 1 is executed, otherwise statement 2 is executed. Here is an example to show the if-else statement. Begin with the void main, then we have clr_scr. clr_scr is a function from conio.h file. This is used to clear the screen. Next we move on with the declaring op as a variable of character type. A, B and C are the variables of float type. Next we have a print statement known as cout, enter two numbers. In the next line we enter two numbers A and B. Again we opt the user to enter an operator among plus, minus, multiply or divide. Next we enter the operator, and in the if condition we check the operator against all these symbols for plus, minus, asterisk or divide sign. Whichever sign is matched with the condition, the following operation is performed. Likewise, in the first if we compare it with the plus operator, then C equals A plus B. In the else we compare it with minus operator, then we perform C equal to A minus B. Again with the multiplication, C equal to A multiplied by B. and again with the division C equal to A divided by B. If none of the operators are matched, then we have a else statement showing wrong operator. After performing all these calculations, we display the result of the operation. The last line is getCh. GetCh is again a function from Conio.h which is used to hold the screen till the user enter input. The input can be any key press. Switch statement. It is a multiple branch statement which tests the value of an expression against a list of integers or characters. When a match is found, then statements associated with that constant are executed. If there is no match, then default statement is executed, which is optional. Its syntax is switch. In the parentheses you write the expression, then followed by case, the constant value of the case, and colon. After that there is a statement and break statement. The last is the default statement which is optional one, and it will only be executed if none of the case constant are being matched with the expression value. Now if the break statement is missing, then the execution continues till the next break is encountered or till the end of the switch statement. This situation is called fall through. This is an example to show switch statement. Here we have declared an integer variable day n, which is the number of the weekday. We prompt the user to enter its value. Then we pass this day n value to the switch as an expression, and this day n value will be matched against all the cases value. Likewise, case 1, that is cout Sunday, case 2 cout Monday, case 3 cout Tuesday, and so on. Last, we have a default statement saying that it is a wrong choice. So after entering the day n value, the value is matched with all the cases, and if there is a match, then the correspondingly case value will be executed and we get an output for the weekday name. Also you can note that each case statement has a break statement at the last, which shows that only one of these cases will be executed and there won't be any fall through condition. Iteration. It allows a set of instructions to be executed repeatedly until a certain condition is fulfilled. These are also called loops. There are three kinds of loops in C++: for, while, and do while. Now begin with the for loop. It is the easiest loop as all the loop controls are in one line at the top. Example: for initialization, text expression, and update expression. Then we have the body of the loop. Now here is an example to print the numbers from 1 to 10. We declare a variable I. Inside the for loop we pass the initial value of I as 1. Then there is a test condition known as I less than equal to 10, followed by an increment condition of I plus plus. Then in the body of the loop we print the value of the I with the space. This loop will start from 1 and count till the 10 by incrementing one value at a time. Any of these loop control elements can be eliminated as per the requirements. For example, to create infinite loop, we can write for semicolon semicolon. While loop. It is an entry control loop where the condition is tested before entering the loop body. The loop control variable is initialized before the loop and updated inside the body of the loop. For example, It is the same example for printing the numbers from 1 to 10. Here again we have initialized the value of I as 1 before the loop. Inside the while, we are writing a comparison for I less than equal to 10, and inside the body of the loop we are printing the value of I and updating the value of I by incrementing by 1. The do while loop, it is an exit control loop where the condition is tested at the end of the loop body statement. Hence, this loop is executed at least once even if the condition is false. So whenever we want that the loop should execute at least one, likewise we are going for withdrawing the money from the ATM and we want that the menu of the ATM should be disclosed to the user at least once, then we are writing a do while loop. In this example, we are writing the do statement before the body of the loop and the while statement at the end of the loop. Notice that the while statement has a semicolon after that to differentiate it with the normal while loop. Jump statement. It transfers the control from one part to another part unconditionally. There are four types of jump statement: go to, return, break and continue. So let's start with the go to statement. The go to statement transfers the control anywhere in the program. The destination is marked by a label. Both label and go to should be in the same block. Now, here you can see the label can be any variable type name which can be declared in the same block as the go to statement. The label can be before the go to or label can be after the go to statement. The break statement. It enables a program to skip over a part of the code and come out of the block to the next statement following the block. So the break statement we already have seen in the switch case where the break was used after the case statement. Whenever the case was encountered, it moves out of the switch statement. Similarly, the break statement can also be used inside the iteration loops like for, while and do while. Whenever a break statement is encountered, there should be a if condition before that. If the condition is met, then break is executed and the control is passed outside the body of the loop. Here we can see as an example, there is a while loop having some test condition, then it has a statement 1. Again we have a if condition for variable equal to 10 and break. So if the variable value is equal to 10, then statement 2 won't be executed and we are moved to the statement 3 outside the body of the while loop. Continue statement. It is similar to break statement, but instead of forcing termination of the block, it does the next iteration of the loop. So continue statement skips the part of the loop and goes back to the body of the loop initialization. Likewise, we can see here, if the value of the variable is var is equal to 10, then we are executing a continue statement. This continue statement transfers the control to the while condition for testing for the next iteration. Here statement 2 will be skipped and again the iteration of the loop start. The return statement. It is used to return either a control or a value from a block to its calling statement. We have simply a return statement followed by a semicolon or return having the value followed by a semicolon. So whenever we are calling a function, then the function will either be returning only the control back to the calling statement or is returning a value to the calling statement. Both type of return statements are valid in C++. Function. A function is a named unit of a program statement. This unit can be invoked by other parts of the program as and when required. They are used to combine several statements to accomplish a task. A syntax is data type, function name, parameter list, and body of the function. The type can be any valid data type in C++ or void if it does not return a value. The parameter list is a comma-separated list of functions which accept the passed values. Parameter is of two types: actual parameter and formal parameter. The parameter which appear in the calling statement of the function are known as actual parameter. These values are passed to the function, example x and y. Formal parameters. These appear in the definition of the function. They hold the passed value, example a and b. Function prototype. It is the declaration of the function that tells the program about the type of value returned by the function, the number and type of each argument the function holds. It has no body. It has following content: return type, function name, and type of each argument. Here is an example of function prototype like void add int a int b cout a plus b. This is a function. It has been passed the values x and y, which are declaring as the formal parameter a and b. Call by value. In this, the values of the actual parameters are copied to the formal parameters. That is, each formal parameter has its own copy. Any change in the value inside the function is on the function's copy and is not reflected to the original copy. Here is an example. You can see that the main function has a value a equals 5. Now before function call, a should be equal to 5. When we call the function inc passing the value of a, then that value is a copied duplicate value. In the inc function, we are incrementing the value by 10 and printing the value inside the function only. When we are printing inside the function, then the updated value is printed. But when we return back to the main function and again try to print the value of a, we are getting the value as 5 only, because there is a change of value inside the function, but that change is not reflected back to the original value, as both the value address are different and only the duplicate or copy of the actual parameter is being passed to the function. Call by reference. In this, the values of the actual parameters are referred by the formal parameter. That is, each formal parameter is an alias of the actual parameter. Any change in the value inside the function is on the reference copy and is reflected to the original copy. Here is example. Again, in the main function, we are having the value a equals 5. We are printing this value before calling the function. That means before function call a equals 5. In the function call, the a value address is being transferred to the function inc. Hence, when we are updating the value of a as a equals a plus 10 inside the function a, then the value becomes 15. Also, when we return back to the main function and try to print out the value of a, we are again getting 15, because there is a change of value inside the function and that change is also reflected back to the original value, as both value address are the same. Recursion. When a function calls itself, then it is known as recursion. There must be a reachable condition for termination. So when we want that a function has a loop, then that loop can be replaced by the recursion call. Here is an example of calculating the factorial of a function. Do you know what is a factorial? A factorial is a function which keeps on multiplying the number from 1 to the number and gives out the complete result. Likewise, if we are calculating the value of factorial 5, then it is 1 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 5, which comes out to be 120. In this, we have a function named fact which is being passed a number, and we have having a declaration of condition like if num double equals 0, it returns 1, else return num into fact num minus 1. So return statement is calling the recursion of the function. Structure. A structure is a collection of several variables of varying data type. They all are referenced by a common name. It begins with a keyword struct and its definition ends with a semicolon. By default, all members of structure are public. That is, they can be accessed directly from anywhere in the program. We create reference to a structure and then refer each element by that structure variable followed by a period. We can create array of references of a structure variable. They can be passed as value or by reference to the function and can be returned from the function as well. There can be nesting of structure, that means a structure within another structure. Here is an example for nesting of structure. We declare a structure named address having the house number, area, city and state. Then we have a structure employee having EMP number, name, salary and the reference of the address structure as ADDR. After this, we declare the reference of employee as EMP. Next, we assign the values to all these variables like emp.empno equal to 121. We copy the value Ashish to emp.name, salary, house number, area, city, state. So whenever we are referring to the structure of another structure, then we are writing the same conclusion by concatenation of the period operator like emp.addr.hno. Namespace. A namespace is a declarative region that provides a scope to the identifiers, that is the name of the type, functions, variables, etc. inside it. Namespaces are used to organize code into logical groups and to prevent name collisions that can occur, especially when your code base includes multiple libraries. All identifiers at namespace scope are visible to one another without qualification. Identifiers outside the namespace can access the members by using the fully qualified name for each identifier. For example, std scope operator vector, std scope operator string vec, or else by using declaration for single identifier using std scope string, or using directive for all the identifiers in the namespace like using namespace std. Code in the header file should always use the fully qualified namespace name. Now let us learn about the using directive. The using directive allow all the names in the namespace to be used without the namespace name as an explicit qualifier. Use a using directive in an implementation file, that is star.cpp, if you are using several different identifiers in a namespace. If you are just using one or two identifiers, then consider a using declaration to only bring those identifiers into scope and not all the identifiers into the namespace. If a local variable has the same name as the namespace variable, the namespace variable is hidden. It is an error to have a namespace variable with the same name as a global variable. Exception. An exception is an error condition, possibly outside the program control, that prevents the program from continuing along its regular execution path. Certain operations including object creation, file input-output, and function calls made from other modules are all potential sources of exception, even when your program is running correctly. Robust code anticipates and handles these exceptions. An exception is a problem that arises during the execution of a program. A C++ exception is a response to an exceptional circumstance that arises while a program is running, such as an attempt to divide by zero. Exceptions provide a way to transfer control from one part of a program to another. C++ exception handling is built upon the three keywords try, catch, and throw. Now, what is a throw? A program throws an exception when a problem shows up. This is done using a throw keyword. Catch. A program catches an exception with an exceptional handler at the place in the program where you want to handle the problem. The catch keyword indicates the catching of an exception. Try. A try block identifies a block of code for which particular exception will be activated. It is followed by one or more catch block. Assuming a block will raise an exception, a method catches an exception using a combination of the try and catch keyword. A try-catch block is placed around the code that might generate an exception. Code within a try-catch block is referred to as protected code, and the syntax for using the try-catch block is try protected code, then catch exception name E1, then catch exception name E2, then catch exception name EN. So there can be more than one catch statement where the most specific one is the first and the most general one will be the last catch statement. Strings. C++ provide the following two types of string representation: the C style character string and the string class type introduced with standard C++. To begin with the C style character string, it is originated within the C language and continues to be supported within the C++. This string is actually a one-dimensional array of characters which is terminated by a null character \0. Thus, a null terminated string contains the characters that comprise the string followed by a null. The following declaration and initialization creates a string consisting of the word hello. To hold the null character at the end of the array, the size of the character array containing the string is 1 more than the number of characters in the word hello. Likewise, we have the hello word as 5 characters, so the greeting array should be of 6 characters to accommodate the null character at the end as well. If you follow the rule of array initialization, then you can write the above statement as follows: char greeting brackets equal to hello. It will automatically be initialized with the greeting character. Now you can see that if we execute the previous statement, we are getting such type of memory representation in C++. Here, the index value of an array starts from 0 till the 1 minus size of the array. The variable has the value as hello followed by a backslash 0, and the address of each and every character is index. Actually, you do not place the null character at the end of the string constant. The C++ compiler automatically places the backslash 0 at the end of the string when it initializes the array. C++ supports a wide range of functions for the strings. Likewise, we have strcpy. This function is used to copy the second string into the string 1. strcat, it concatenates or joins the second string after the first string. strlen is used to find out the length of the string. That means it returns the total number of characters in the string. strcmp is used to compare the two strings. When it returns 0, it means both the strings are of same length. If it returns less than 0, that means the second string is more length than the first string, and if it returns greater than 0, then the first string is more length than the second string. strchr, it returns a pointer to the first occurrence of a character in the string. So if we need to find out a character occurrence in the string, we are going to search that character in the strchr function. Similarly, str function find out the first occurrence of the second string in the first string. So it will return the pointer to the location. Here is an example to show all the functions of the string. We have a character string str1 having hello, str2 having world, and str3 is a null string. We declare a variable len of integer type. Firstly, we make use of the strcpy function where we copy the string 1 into string 2. So str3 will also be containing hello. Next, we are using strcat function where we are concatenating both the string 1 and string 2. So after concatenation, str1 should be having hello world as its value. To find out the total length of the str1 after concatenation, we are using strlen function and assigning the value to the len variable. So it will be using the characters from hello world. So hello is of 5 character and world is also of 5 character. Hence the total length should be 10 characters. This is seen in the result below. Likewise, strcpy of str3, str1 has the hello. strcat of str1 and str2 has hello world, and strlen of str1 is having the 10 as the output value. Next is a string class in C++. The standard C++ library provides a string class type that supports all the operations mentioned above. Additionally, much more functionality. So here is an example. We are having str1 as a string type having the hello as a variable. Then str2 is a variable of string type having world as the value. str3 is a null string. len is again an integer. then we copy the str1 into str3. Here we are not using a function, but we are using the simple assignment operator. Str3 equals str1. Again, concatenation can be done by using the simple plus operator, like str3 equals str1 plus str2. Again, the total length of the str3 can be found out by using the size or the length function. So len equal to str3 dot size will give you the size of the str3 or total number of characters in the str3. Here you are seeing that it is producing the same result as it was in the previous example. So the string class in C++ has much more functionality and easiness or efficiency than the normal C character class. You can also specify an initial value for the string in a constructor. As string is a class in C++, so you can use its constructor by using string myString ब्रैकेट में आप उसकी स्टार्टिंग वैल्यू पास करोगे एज अ कंस्ट्रक्टर. String input output is easy as string can be supported by cin operator. So if you need to read an entire line at a time, you can use the getLine function and pass it an input stream object, that is cin, the string, and a character on which to terminate, that is \n. The following code reads a line from the standard input. Likewise, we have getLine function. We have passed cin, myString, and \n as the parameter to this function. It will read out the complete line from the stream cin. String concatenation can be done by using the plus operator. So we are making two strings, myString1 and myString2, having some values, and in the myString3 we are just concatenating both of them by using the plus operator. In the string comparison, we are using the assignment operator for the comparison. We are having a password, we are getting it from the stream, and we are just as matching it for equality with x, y, z, z, y for having the access allowed. String length and accessing the individual element can be done by using the length or the size function, which are the members of the string class and which return the number of characters in the string. Likewise, if we find out the length of the string, then we are writing myString1 dot length, or you can write size. It will give out the number of characters in the string. Searching and substrings. The string class supports simple searching and substring retrieval using the function find, rfind, and substr. The find member function takes a string and a position and begins searching the string from the given position for the first occurrence of the given string. It returns the position of the first occurrence of the string or a special value, string and pause, that indicates that it does not find the substring. Here is the syntax. We have the int find, then the string pattern int position. This sample code searches for every instance of the string cat in the given string and counts the total number of instances. We have a string as input, I equals 0, then the cat appearance equals to 0. This is a count variable. We are inputting the value from the scene and we are just having the loop. So I equal to input dot find cat or comma 0. So we are just starting the initial value of the I equals from the 0. If there is a value of I for string and pause, then this loop will terminate. It will again find out the value of I cat in the string. So whenever it finds the value of the cat in the string, it just increment the count. move past the last discovered instance to avoid finding the same string. On the other hand, the substr function can be used to create a new string considering only the slice of the string beginning at the given position and of a particular length. So substr having the position and the length. For instance, to extract the first 10 characters of a string, you can use there is a string my string having a b c d e f g h I j k l m n o p. Then we are having the first 10 alphabet. So we are using a substr function from 0 to 10. It will extract out the first 10 characters of the string. Pointers. A pointer is a variable whose value is the address of another variable. The general form of pointer variable declaration is type asterisk var name. Here type is the pointer base type. It must be a valid C++ type and a var name is the name of the pointer variable. The asterisk is being used to designate a variable as a pointer. Now there is a pointer declaration like int pointer, double pointer, float pointer, character pointer. There are few important operations which we will do in the pointer very frequently. Likewise, we define a pointer variable, assign the address of a variable to a pointer, and finally access the value at the address available at the pointer variable. This is done by using the unary operator asterisk that returns the value of the variable located at the address specified by the operand. Here is an example of the pointer. We have a simple variable var equal to 20. Then we have an integer pointer IP. We point out the address of the var variable in the IP. Now we print the value of the pointer, that is the value of the var variable, by using the var itself, and we print out the address stored in the IP by using the simple IP printout. So whenever we are just using this IP in the cout without asterisk, it is printing the address of the pointer variable stored. And if we want to print out the value inside the pointer variable, we are using the asterisk pointer. Hope you enjoyed the today's session. So there are some questions for the today's session. Likewise, write about the flow of control. What is function prototype and differentiate between the call by value and call by reference? What are jump statements? What is an namespace? And write about different types of string declaration in C++. Thanks for watching my video. Hope you have enjoyed this session and you have learned about the flow of control, expressions, operators and pointers, etc. You can very well go through all these and we will meet me in the next video for unit 2 of the course.